Thank you for watching In Any Arena. If you like our content, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right, let's get into it. Dub, what's good, brother, man?
What's going on with you, bro?
Can't complain at all. How you doing today?
Can't call it, man. Just, happy hump week. Few steps closer to Friday. So I can't
Yeah.
complain. How you feeling, bro?
Everything's good. Everything's lovely, man. Before we get into any of this great content that we're about to drop on the people, you had to ask them for one thing. What would it be, Dub?
Oh, it's quite simple, man. And guess what? It's free. It's free. It's not gonna cost you a penny or anything. Hit us with that CLS treatment, that comment, that like and subscribe, so we can reach broader audiences and grow our channel even more. We've had some rapid growth over the past few weeks, and we want to thank you all for subscribing to our channel and also being engaged. But without further ado, let's get into it.
Let's get into it, man. So, the college football playoff rankings have dropped. The top 25, presumably those top four will be in the playoffs as of today. Now, we do have a couple matchups within the top six that still have to occur. Georgia, Tennessee coming up this weekend. One of those teams, whoever wins, will presumably be playing Alabama in the SEC championship. So that'll change the rankings there. But one of the biggest, it's not even a slight because they're number four, but it's the biggest thing I have a problem with is Clemson at number four. What are your thoughts on Clemson being ranked number four in the nation right now with their body of work, their strength of schedule, which in the different strength of schedule rankings, I've seen them no higher than 25. How do you feel about them being ranked above Alabama with one loss, Michigan, as well as TCU, who's still undefeated right now?
I think the biggest thing with Clemson is just, to your point, the strength of schedule. And so you look at the teams that they've played, beginning of the season, they played Citadel. That's just a college, a military school or university right down the street here. I think in what is it, South Carolina, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken, the Citadel. They blew them out 49-0, right? No competition. I'm sorry, that was not the first game of the season. I actually think they played Georgia Tech the first game of the season. My apologies, you all. But at that time, Georgia Tech hasn't had a good football team in years. Yeah, they beat them 41-10. Then they turn
Right.
around and beat Furman 35-12. Then they turn around and beat Louisiana Tech 48-20. So on and so forth. But they have played, I want to say, approximately three ranked teams this season, and
Yeah.
they barely got by Syracuse at 22. So
Yeah.
with that being said, I just don't on paper, I just don't think they actually have the talent to compete with the other three universities that are ahead of them. But there's also colleges that are ranked lesser than them that I think they have better talent than Clemson. So when you look at Clemson, last year they weren't really good. I think
Yeah.
this is a revival season, but I don't consider them a top four team in the nation.
Yeah. I think for me, the it's just kind of crazy to see where they're at right now. I think you made a lot of good points around the strength of schedule, and it's just again one of those situations where it's hard. It's hard to understand this committee is going through the process apparently of multiple days of evaluations and really putting a lot of thought and a lot of work into this to get these rankings. I agree with Tennessee at number one. I think they've earned that. Beating Alabama, they've got some strong wins. Ohio State's been dominant in the Big Ten up until this point. They still got a date left on the calendar with Michigan, number 5 in the country, later this year. So it'll be interesting to see, what'll happen there. They showed us their resilience as they were down to Penn State, and they really tightened up and really made a run to win that game and pull off the win in what was a big conference matchup. But to me, overall, the ACC is down. We said that for a couple of years in general, just about the ACC being down. Again, when you look at Clemson's schedule, the Florida State win. At the time, you had a Florida State team who I mentioned in other videos who beat LSU at the beginning of the season, neutral site. But that Florida State team would not beat the LSU team today. LSU had a new quarterback. They put in a lot of work. They're a much better team now, and they're competing in the SEC. The Wake Forest team they beat, Wake Forest has been inconsistent. We saw them take a beating to Louisville this past weekend, where they gave up, I believe, 36 points off of 5 turnovers in the third quarter. And so that didn't bode well for them. And then, the other ranked win against NC State. Well, we've seen NC State isn't quite who we thought they were at the beginning of the season.
Decimated by injuries, though.
Decimated by injuries, so you do have to take that into account. Their starting quarterback is no longer playing. But even prior to those injuries, NC State struggled. Again, NC State barely beat East Carolina. That was a tough matchup for them. Not knocking East Carolina. East Carolina has a solid football program, and they have really been pressing hard this season. But that was one of the first games of the season. They went to ECU and only won by a point. And I really believe ECU should have won that game. So NC State just isn't quite who we thought they were either. And they competed with Clemson. I mean, Clemson beat them by 10, but it was a close game. I just think it's disrespectful, to these other teams that have played. I don't think they should be ranked above probably 5 through 10, with the exception 5 through 11.
I give them 6. That's why I'm going to put them, because when you look at so a lot of things that we do behind the scenes is we look, of course, we Google and we research a lot of stuff before we come to you all with information to make sure that the information we're providing has some validity to it. Right. But I was just looking at the Power Ranking Guru website, and based on Clemson's strength of schedule, they're sitting at 61st. Out of all of the Division I universities in college football. So when you think about 61 and you're ranked number 4, I don't think that's really saying a lot about Clemson. But I would have to put them at number 6, just for the simple fact that they are in the ACC, and they are undefeated. Now, the strength of schedule, again, ranked 66 out of 130 teams. I'm just saying. So they're almost in the middle of the pack as it pertains to strength of schedule.
Yeah. And I it's hard for me to disagree with that. I think that's a good point. 6 at the highest, but I can see them being as low as maybe number 9, because I think that, Ole Miss has taken some losses as of late. But again, if I were to match Clemson over Ole Miss, I don't see Clemson being a team that would beat Ole Miss. I don't see Clemson beating LSU. I don't see them beating TCU or Alabama or Michigan, for that matter. So it's hard for me to see them ranked above any of those teams. I think this is, again, more of a point or a great example of why they're expanding the college football playoff, because I would like to see them face off with some of these teams. I don't want to see teams being ranked based on the historical quality of football or historical difficulties that their conference would bring about. This year, again, none of those. You got 5 SEC teams that are ranked in the top 11, if I'm counting right. Tennessee, Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss. Yeah, you got 6 SEC teams that are ranked within the top 11. So that shows you the dominance that this conference has in comparison to a lot of the other schools. So I think it's a big snub to have, Clemson ranked this high. And what it does when you put out the first round of rankings, it sets a precedent for the rest of the season. If these guys are able to win out, which they probably will win out the rest of their regular season schedule, then they're already set up going into the ACC championship game against presumably North Carolina. That if they win,
they can lose that game.
They can definitely, I can tell
you right now.
And I have them pegged to lose that. I got North Carolina winning that game. Yep. You got a great young quarterback in Drake May at North Carolina. Initially was supposed to go to Alabama, decommitted, stayed home in state. Charlotte, raised kid, but he's playing great. He's about to break a lot of the freshman ACC records up there in North Carolina. So I got them beating Clemson, which would right size. Hey, shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Charlotte for real. It's track and field team too. But I
Shit.
got them beating Clemson, and I think that would right size a lot of what we're seeing now. But it shouldn't have to depend on that, because if they don't beat Clemson, what would happen for Clemson to get knocked out of that top four? I think it's a bad situation. This committee's got to do better. They've got to really look at the quality of wins, and I think really take that into account when ranking teams.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think this weekend they play Notre Dame, and candidly speaking, that could be an upset.
Could be an upset
That
alert.
could be upset
Notre
too.
Dame's getting better. They put on a great performance against Syracuse, and so it's a possibility. I don't think
Uh,
they'll beat them because I think if DJ Ungulale, I always mess up his name. I think if DJ Ungulale comes out
Close
and
enough.
he struggles, then they're going to pull him. And I think what we saw is that Clemson offense moves a lot smoother. There's a lot more possibility when they play both quarterbacks.
And they barely beat Syracuse back, I think, on October the 22nd or something like that. They barely
Yeah.
beat them. They beat them by 6 points. So Notre Dame beat Syracuse. So what I'm saying is this is possibly a setup game. So I think they had a bye week. So I hope that they have that they're back and they're recharged because they could take an L this weekend.
Yeah, it could be ugly, but we'll definitely have to look out for it. Again, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. College football, there's a lot developing, a lot of big games left to be played. So we'll be checking in, giving some more content there. But as Dove said at the beginning of the video, please give us that Mercedes-Benz treatment. CLS, comment, like, subscribe. We'll comment back. We'll engage with you guys, and we'll keep dropping more content in the arena.
Till next time.
Peace.